Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special tier list with my good friend Deathy. He's actually one of the smart half of this duo, and we're gonna make a lovely tier list. Also, don't forget to check out his meta report video. There will also be like a TLDR of this tier list. And yeah, let's get right into it. How are you today?
I'm good. Pleasure to be here. It's actually my birthday today.
Oh, wait.
Birthday stream.
wait.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Deathy. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Nice. How old are you now?
27.
Oh, let's go. He's still a baby. All right.
For Deadlock terms, you know, at least in the streamers and stuff, I'm like a boomer. But
meanwhile, I was like screaming in Overwatch when you were like sucking on your. Anyway.
Probably not. Probably not. Overwatch, I was already an adult.
Okay,
you know?
okay. Maybe Heroes of New Earth or Dota 1 actually is probably a better.
Yeah. Dota 1, I was like a child.
Yeah. All right.
Don't forget your meds. I won't.
So we are gonna make a tier list today. We're gonna try to base this tier list off of representative for all skill tiers, right? Is that what do you think, or do you want?
I think it's a discussion.
Yeah.
I think it's about having a discussion. When I make a tier list, I think it's really hard to like. Obviously, if you want to make a tier list that's like the most representative of like the current skill level of every player, you just take every hero's win rate and you just plug them into the tier list, and that would be that. But for me, it's about the strength of the heroes right now, and I think that there's a lot of heroes that might have low win rates that are actually really strong. It's just that they're like high skill heroes. So I think there's like nuance to it. At the end of the day, if you and I heavily disagree on a hero, we can come to a compromise, and that'll probably be more representative of the actual power level of the hero.
But I think it's also fair to say that you are, Eternus 6, you play scrims regularly against the best players in the game. I'm just a pub stomper, so obviously sometimes our opinions are probably not the same, but at the same time I do think that you have a better, I mean, you're a coach. I'm just a, like one of your viewers said the other day, I'm a brain dead player, and if I can't play Bebop, I will lose. But jokes on him, I lose on Bebop too, so that's fine.
Oh shit. Yeah. That's true. Well, at the end of the day, I think that everyone's opinion is valid, and I'll be interested to see where we disagree, because way back in the past, like I don't know how many months ago this was, but back like when there was a lot more Deadlock content being made on YouTube, I'd see your videos pop up, and sometimes with the tier list I'd be like, I like disagree with a lot of your takes. And so I think that I've always wanted to be like, man, it'd be cool if I could just like maybe either correct him or feel like we could have a discussion so that I could be like, this hero is actually, I think it's stronger because of that.
Okay, so let's hop straight into it. We're starting with a juicer. How do you feel about Bebop?
Bebop. I mean, in my opinion, Bebop is like, I think that Bebop players tend to lowball him a little bit. I think that other players tend to. He's probably the most controversial hero.
Yeah.
I would say that, in my opinion, he's either S or A tier. He's definitely not lower than A tier. That's for sure. That's like non-negotiable. The hero just has a lot of things going for him. He's got a lot of sprint speed, a lot of base stats. I mean, now he has 2 stams, so that's definitely like more reasonable. Hook is like, it's one of those things that's very inconsistent, but also like late game, it's on an 8-second cooldown, and
it can just fish.
Deadlock, Deadlock, like later in the game, like if you get 1 kill, like you win the fight, and you can do so much off of it. So do
you know what's funny is that my viewers, they play a lot of Bebop, and your viewers, they hate a lot of Bebop. So I just look over the chat and I can instantly see how like your viewers are like, that's gotta be S, and then someone in my chat is like, nah, I think it's like a solid C. But no, I agree with you. I think the biggest discussion topic for me is always like the assumption that everyone is playing Gunbop, right? Because Gunbop is always like the most consistently performing build. So if we're like basing it on like the best build, which is obviously Gun, then I think I'll agree with you that like it's got to be probably like high A maybe. I think that like the 2 stamina nerf and the base stats nerf, I agree that he had way too much base stats. But I don't like that like every time Bebop gets nerfed, like Bomb is always like worse than Gun, and there's like I don't know, that's the part that sucks for me, who's like I've played like 1,500 games on that hero, and most of them are Bomb, and I always felt like people are like, oh my god, this hero is so broken. But then it's like one of those outlier games too, where sometimes you do get 200 stacks because like the opposite lane failed, and then you snowball really hard. But then they don't see the games where you have like 50 stacks and you're basically just a hook bot endgame. But I think we agree that he is like high A tier, I would say. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think high A tier is probably fair. Like if it was my tier list, I'd probably put him like low S tier, but you know, high A tier is fair. I think as far if we were to rate like the annoyance factor of a hero, I think I would put him in S tier.
Yeah.
Because I think he's just very annoying. And with the bomb thing, like you said, it's out of your control. So if like, I don't know, PCT is just farming like farming like Oracle players in another lane, and he comes out of lane with 100 stacks. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter that bomb is worse because now he has Echo Shard at 12 minutes and 100 stacks. So
yeah,
there's that.
Like I agree with that. I do think that Bomb Bebop actually excels in weird matchmaking scenarios because you can identify the Oracle player and then you can go and take advantage of him and build stacks. I do 100%. Think that if Bebop is shut down in the laning stage, it's probably gonna not be a very fun character for the rest of the game unless you play gun. But I've definitely experienced a lot where I win a lane, I'm like 1,000 or 2,000 souls up, but it feels like I lost the lane because I didn't build enough bomb stacks. And I think that's like my biggest issue with the hero. Whereas like I hate that it feels like you have to play that kind of arcade mode inting if you play bomb, right? Or else you're just like, you can farm as much as you want, but you can be like top souls and do very little damage if you didn't build stacks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the whole stacking mechanic. I think they should just rework the ability to not have stacking, but like be viable if you invest things into it with items or whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're cooking up? I think we can kind of close it on Bebop and move to the next character for that, but I think we mostly agree, yeah.
Yeah. Holliday, which has one of the lowest win rates, I'd like to add.
Really? Okay, that's easy S tier. Like, how does this hero have a low win rate?
I think that Holliday has a low win rate just because it's a hard hero to play, and a lot of people play gun Holliday. A lot of people are like, because when I saw the hero for the first time, I was like, oh, that passive with the headshot is insane, right? But Holliday has one of the lowest win rates in the game. It's
actually horrible. Like the crack shot is actually crack shot is good in lane, but it's actually like if you try to build around crack shot, it's horrible.
Yeah. The only thing I've seen is like crack shot can, if you have ricochet on it, it also affects the other targets like the cooldown reduction. Yeah. But that's like such a niche scenario that. But I do think that win rates are a better representation of how easy a hero is to learn rather than how good it is. If you look across the entire rank spectrum, if you look at like Ascendant Plus, then I think win rates can be a little bit more representative of where you actually put a hero. But I think, I agree with you. She's been nerfed several times. It doesn't matter. She still had, like, I've seen several Fight Night games where there's a Holliday and Mo in the same lane. And it's just like, she picks a target up, drags her under the tower, and gets Mo ulted. So, yeah.
I mean, the Holliday plus Mo is like, you just, get people into the Mo ult. It's extremely powerful. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think you need explanations for this hero being S tier. Like, one of the strongest landing stages. Yeah. Lasso with any cooldown reduction is like essentially like if you max it, you get cooldown reduction. It's like a 40-second cooldown. Yeah. And Lasso is like just so insane. It forces everyone to buy debuff remover because otherwise it lasts way too long. Obviously, debuff remover is like a good item, so it's not that bad. But
3 jump pads.
This hero's only weakness is the fact that like her damage like does fall off. Like she does fall off, but her lasso never falls off, but her damage like definitely falls off.
Also, isn't the increased timer when you jump pad while lassoing, that isn't reduced by debuff remover, right?
That is correct. The jump pad 1 second extra is not affected, but the rest is affected. So and a lot of the time against like worse Holliday players, if you have a debuff remover, they might not even get to the jump pad in time because they might not realize it. And
Okay, So I'm curious what you think about Geist, because a lot of heroes got nerfed in the last patch, but I feel like Geist just got a lot better just because she didn't get nerfed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Geist is probably like S tier as well, or like high A tier. Maybe not S tier. I would put her in A tier. I think I could see the argument for S tier as well. Like her entire kit's extremely strong. She's a strong laner. Like Geist's only weakness has always been her mobility. Like she doesn't have any innate mobility. But other than that, I mean, swap is just always going to be super powerful.
Yeah.
Just because like you can target like the most fed player on the enemy team in any fight and just essentially delete 70% of their health instantly. So yeah, it's got to be like high A tier or like S tier.
I've always not liked Geist's ult actually. I don't know about you, but I've always found that to be one of those like you get rewarded for like getting yourself to low health. But I do agree with you.
I've been fine with that probably just because when I first started playing the game, I was like, oh, this is just Terrorblade ult, and I was like,
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too.
It's just Thunder.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right.
All right. Yeah, I'm putting her. How about we put her slightly behind Bebop, or do you think? Yeah,
that's probably fair.
Yeah.
I think realistically, she is like probably like a similar strength level to Bebop overall. She's definitely like more consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Geist is one of those like it's never a bad pick, right? She can be tanky, she can do damage.
Yeah. You never see a Geist pick and you're like, wow.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those picks that you don't need like because especially when we're just like queuing up pub games, then you can't always like choose your comp. And I feel like Geist is one of those like flex picks that like you're never gonna be mad about having a Geist on your team. All right, Lash. I know you play him a lot.
Yeah, so Lash, I think a little bit like Bebop, Lash is quite controversial.
Yeah, I agree.
And Lash also has the effect of being significantly better at lower levels of play and in uncoordinated play.
Yeah.
So essentially, I think that this hero in like pubs for the average player is like probably like high A or S tier.
Yeah.
But in competitive play, he's like probably like C tier.
Interesting.
I think usually A or B is fair for Lash if you like kind of average them out. The thing with Lash is that if you know how to play against Lash and you buy the proper items and you understand how he works, he is one of the heroes that has the most counterplay in the game. Yeah. I think he actually has good design from that perspective, right? Because a lot of the stuff that he does can be countered one way or another.
Yeah, like for instance, you have Kelvin ult, fully counter Lash ult. Dynamo can TP the entire team out of Lash ult.
I mean, Bebop can hook him and it cancels it.
Bebop can hook him. You're forced to buy Unstoppable and maybe even Refresher against a lot of teams. But then Kelvin has a pretty... Yeah, I agree with you that like he's really good in low ranks and medium ranks. And like, for instance... In a lot of pub games, if a team has Lash and Dynamo, they're very likely to win that game just off of one combo. Like, just like at one point, your team is out of position, you get Lash ulted into Dynamo ult and just get one combo. It also means that your mid boss is like much easier to win overall. So I think I can agree with you, like maybe top of B tier, just because of like the counterplay on the higher levels.
I think it's fair. I would also be like A tier is also fair depending. I think... If you were counting strictly pubs, strictly average player, I could see S tier.
Yeah.
But if we're being like a bigger scope, I think like high B tier or like low A tier is probably fair.
Yeah. Okay. I'm putting it in the top of B tier, and then we'll see what.
I would say that before the most recent patch, I would have put him very confidently at C tier.
Yeah.
But he is one of the biggest winners from the E shift change, being
That's
6K.
True. That's true.
And so like. It definitely helps him a lot. The E-Shift change definitely helps him a lot because now you have to actually counter the Lash himself in his ult, right?
Yeah.
Or also, if you guys don't know, like I would say right now the biggest counter to Lash, or one of the biggest counters to Lash, is just mobility in general. So if you have Warp Stone, Superior Stamina, like you can dodge a lot of Lash's stuff, and those items are just extremely stat efficient, like extremely strong. So you can buy them on almost any hero.
I also feel like I've seen a lot of Fight Night matches where Lash just doesn't get much value. Like he's
yeah, I mean in competitive play he has like actually a horrible win rate. Like he was picked like every game in the 1-win EU Grand Finals. He lost every game. He had like some impact here and there. He had like one big ult in a key moment. Like if he gets a big ult, this hero looks insane. But if he doesn't manage to get that because people are playing well around it, the hero is not very good. All
right, and then McGinnis. Now that's a juicy one. I personally think that McGinnis is probably S tier. No, I'm joking. This hero needs help.
McGinnis is like D tier, you know. It is what
she needs help, man.
I mean, just give her one stamina and she'll be infinitely better.
Yeah, this hero needs
like,
help.
Give her one extra stamina, not like from 2 to 1 stamina. Like bring her from 2 to 3.
Yeah. Put her on 1 stamina.
Yeah, no, I think McGinnis. I think we should just remove all stamina from McGinnis, and she should only walk.
No, yeah. McGinnis has had a lot of changes back and forth over the last 6, 7, 8 months or whatever it is. I remember when Naked was going crazy with the ult builds a while ago and stuff. But as of right now, this hero is just trash. I'm sorry, but like, there's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I think she's one thing to remind everybody is when you make a Deadlock tier list. Deadlock is the type of game where when a hero is D, all that it takes is just like one change to take that hero from like D tier to like B or even A tier.
Yeah.
So like I'm fairly confident if McGinnis just gets 3 stam and like maybe some slight changes to some of her like numbers, she would instantly be like B or A tier.
Yeah, and it's also a hero that is like, it's a very finicky hero to balance, because I remember all the patches where her turrets were a little bit too strong, and then suddenly it's just like it's horrible to play against. She would have those like build a fort on the roof with turrets and nobody can even get up there. So it's definitely fine. But that's also just like, I guess, a compliment to this game as a whole, where like it is very short between the tiers compared to a lot of other games.
Yeah, in some games I feel like someone like if something is D tier, it's like, okay, this shit is like so horrible compared to everything else.
You just lose by default.
It's just ice rock balancing, you know. You look at Dota, for example, a lot of like internationals, like most heroes are picked, you know. There's very few heroes that are actually unplayable, and in Deadlock is the same. Like even McGinnis is still like playable, and you still see her picked in comp play sometimes. It's just very rare, and she's just worse compared to the alternatives.
Yeah, I agree. Which brings me to the next one, which is Mo and Krill, and I'm assuming you're gonna agree with me that he belongs in the absolute opposite end of the scale.
Yeah, I mean he's either S or A. Yeah. I think you could make the argument that he's not S tier, but he could be A tier. But then again, this hero, like you need to buy specific counter items for him. You need to buy anti-heal, which the large majority of the player base is allergic to. And he's just like, it doesn't matter how good you are. If Mo and Krill presses 4 on you, you're CC'd for a while. So yeah, it's either high A or like low S. He's definitely not like anywhere near as impressive as like Holliday, for example.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that one thing about Mo is that he isn't too complicated to play. So that also like lifts him up on like a general player perspective. I think even in like mid elo, you can pretty easily play a Mo. Like for instance,
I mean, like a bad player gets much more value from Mo than a bad player gets from Holliday, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why Mo's win rate is much higher than Holliday, even though we think that Holliday is stronger. I think my biggest thing with Mo is that one thing I've noticed, because I've played a lot of Mo in the last month or so, is that you can literally buy Quicksilver Reload, Torment Pulse, and Phantom Strike, and you can just start running around the map. And with the recent, I actually think that the recent changes to how the soul changes in the lane, I actually think that benefits Mo, because he jungles pretty fast, right? If you have Quicksilver Reload and Torment Pulse, so you can like. I think he's a good like kind of semi-support roamer / jungler, where you can funnel more farm into whoever's in the solo lane, and that gives you more potential to gank with the ult because it's got such a low cooldown too. So I actually think that those changes actually makes him better, and the fact that like he's one of the hard counters to like heroes like Yamato that can just go like super dummy strong. So I definitely think he's S tier as well.
Yeah, I think S tier for the average player is very reasonable.
Yeah, I just think it's like a combination.
And even in tournament play, he's still like at least high A tier.
Yeah, like he's strong across the entire board, but he's also easy to learn. So it's like there's no like downside. And I think that's another hero like Geist, where like you're never gonna be mad about having a Mo on your team. And then also like personally, I just love heroes that have stacking abilities. I think that yeah. Next up, we have Paradox, and one thing I like to say about Paradox is that I always get surprised of how many patches she has gone through without getting big nerfs, because I feel like she's been so strong since like the very beginning, even though they changed like the charges on the wall and everything. I don't think like that made her that much weaker. I just think she's like super strong.
I mean, she's gotten nerfed like probably 20 different patches at this point. I don't know the number, but all I remember is that Paradox has only gotten... The only buffs Paradox has ever gotten were to her grenade. All of her other abilities have been consistently nerfed. I'm pretty sure. Like
Carbine got more damage, I think. Carbine got a little more damage.
Maybe. Carbine got the more damage, and it got the headshot also.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's been like 99% nerfs on her kit. And this character used to be like beyond like broken. Like this character, you were playing Paradox, you were playing like a different game than everybody else. Like, you weren't playing Deadlock, you were playing Paradox. I mean, she's still S tier despite all of that.
I agree. I think one thing I've always said from the very get-go, and I got a lot of hate from this in the beginning. I said that like Paradox is the pick hero that Bebop always wanted to be. She's like always very consistent. She can always like the combo is much more consistent to hit. When your wall is maxed, you swap them into silence. You don't have to spend 3k on a silence glyph either. So I don't know. And this hero just like you said, regardless of how many nerfs, I think this is like probably a top 5 hero in my opinion.
I mean, she's very strong, and she's also like, if we're talking about the competitive side right now, it's also the fact that there are Paradox heroes like Holliday, and Bebop to an extent, even Mo. Like a lot of the heroes we've ranked so far fundamentally change the way that your team can play on the map.
Yeah, you got to play
very
scared.
Few heroes that actually achieve that, and so that's definitely one of Paradox's biggest strengths. And yeah, she's definitely like top 5 heroes. She's always very, very highly valued in the pick bans and tournaments, and probably always will be until they add more heroes that can have like a similar. I mean, the biggest nerf to Paradox was the addition of Holliday. It wasn't like a nerf, but like it was like a, oh, now we have an alternative. And guess what? They're both OP.
Yeah. Do you agree if I put her between Holliday and Mo?
Yeah. I think she's worse than Holliday for sure.
Yeah.
Not by much, but she's definitely worse than Holliday. Yeah. Her laning stage is worse. She does have like higher damage output later with like double bomb and some shenanigans like that. But overall, Lasso just has better displacement than Swap. You don't have to displace yourself. Lasso lasts a long time.
Yeah.
Etc.
All right. Next up, we have Pocket. And I would like to preface this by saying that this is the hero I hate most in the entire game. Probably because it's also like one of the very...
you can dodge all your bombs.
Yeah, one of the most frustrating heroes to play against as a Bebop. The suitcase is on like an 8-second cooldown, infinite mobility. Pocket's gotten a lot of buffs and nerfs and changes to the ult over the course of the last 6 months and stuff, but I always hate playing against this hero. But I would love to hear what you think about where to put him. And it's definitely just Puck from Dota.
On my side, to preface on my side, Pocket is one of my most played heroes. I think he's probably my 3rd most played. I've played him in tournaments, scrims, pubs, everything. I played him when he was most OP, and I've played him recently. He's definitely fallen off a lot from like his golden era, where he was literally just like server admin, just like one-shotting everyone, no cooldowns, like infinite damage amp, like ult is uncounterable. I mean, debuff remover wasn't always in the game, guys. That's all I'm gonna say. Debuff remover was not in the game originally.
Oh my god, the
good
old
luck, ult. Good luck. But nowadays, I think that he is probably just like balanced. I would say before the most recent patch, I would have put him A tier, but now I'd put him B tier. The nerfs to his early game definitely impact him a lot. Like his satchel, you now require like really 2 points in it to have it do significant damage. His shotgun got nerfed by like, I think his early game DPS got nerfed by like 20% on his gun last patch, which is like a lot. It might not have seemed like much, but it was a lot. So I think that is a lot. I would say he's definitely better than Lash, like significantly better than Lash.
I agree.
But in pubs, and he's also like, he's hard to play and all that stuff, and he doesn't have like a ult that like, I mean, his ult is good, but it doesn't change team fights the way that Lash ult can in pubs. And so
I like Pocket in A. You like Pocket in B. How do we? I feel like also just.
Well, you could put him like bottom of A, but I think that we're gonna start to get some bloat. So I would put him in B personally.
Okay, fine. I trust
A is very likely to get bloated.
Also, chat, Pocket is a they, not a he. Just so we don't piss anyone off.
Oh yeah. My bad.
No, it's. I always say misgendering is fine as long as you do it on don't do it on purpose. Everybody can accidentally do it, but like, that's. I had some bad experiences with people in the Valorant community when Clove came out. They were like, "Oh, it's a girl." I'm like, "Well, just guys, it's not that deep. Just call the character them and get over it. You'll sleep you know what I mean?" All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Next up, we have 7, which currently has the highest win rate in the game.
Yep.
And has had for quite a while, actually, I believe.
7 will probably always have the highest win rate.
Yeah. I think 7 is like a easy hero to learn. An ult that is like, do you remember the very early days of Deadlock? Like when the game just came out, we just started streaming it. And I remember everybody would complain about how broken 7 was because you could just like hop in spawn and press 4 and you could never win the game.
I mean, when I first started playing Deadlock, I thought 7 was OP. And then like after like a month or two, I realized 7 was actually terrible. Like 7 was actually really bad back then. Honestly, it's a funny part. Like everyone thought, the community thought he was OP, but he was actually a really like not good.
Yeah.
In comparison, I think right now 7 is like pretty good, which is why he has such an insane win rate. Because like since he's pretty good and he's easy to play, you know, his win rate is kind of insane. He does have the effect, like the adverse effect of other heroes, meaning that as you go up in ranks, if you check, like his win rate does go down, right?
Yeah.
Like the higher the rank, the lower the win rate, because people buy knockdown, people will buy items to counter him. But I think he's like a solid A tier right now, probably.
I agree, and I also think that like the map changes definitely benefited 7 a lot. Like where you like max 3 first, and you can run through like 3 to 4 camps without your 3 going off.
Yeah.
And being more team fight centric in like because there's less lanes. I agree with you. I think I'm putting 7 above Bebop and Geist. Do you agree with that or?
Yeah, I think I would probably put him like below both of them, honestly.
Okay.
I think it depends though. From a pub perspective, he's probably above.
Yeah, but in pro play, no. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'd say in pro play, it's pretty rare that you'll see him picked very early, just because other characters just like he's just like a nice addition to your team, but he doesn't necessarily like shape your team or whatever. Yeah. Like a hero like Bebop or Geist will usually have higher priority just because of what they can do.
Push the agenda so Bebop sucks, they won't get nerfed. Dude, Bebop is the most hated character in this game. He's always going to get nerfed regardless of whether or not I want him to. That's something I've accepted very early on. It's out of my hands.
The reality is Bebop is going to get the Pudge treatment, which is the hero will probably get nerfed until he's like essentially just objectively not a good hero, but people will still play him because he's a hook hero and they enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's probably what will happen.
Yeah, that's what I think
what happened
too.
to Pudge for a long time. And then Pudge got like some metas where he was good, but like for the most part, Pudge was always like a meme.
And same with Roadhog in Overwatch. Same with hook characters in any game. It's always the most hated characters.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we have Shiv, which also is one of the most nerfed heroes. Like, I think he's probably nerfed like 20 times as well. I remember Shiv on launch day when his knife did more damage than Pocket Affliction. That was definitely suboptimal, but he's seen a lot of changes since then. But what do you think?
I mean, I think Shiv is like probably just B tier. I think he's probably right around Pocket. I could say he might be better than Pocket. He might be worse than Pocket. It depends. I think as far as like consistency goes, Shiv's early game is definitely like pretty decent. And like when he's max rage, he can feel like very strong. Yeah. And right now, a lot of the items are good for Shiv. Yeah. Like, the items that are good, like Shiv likes to buy them. Like debuff remover being very good is very good for Shiv, for example, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's one of the heroes where you consistently buy that item on.
Yeah, like it's like mandatory. So yeah, I think he's like B. I'd probably put him above Pocket, even though it might be controversial.
No, I think I agree with you. I know that a lot of people say that Shiv is broken and stuff, but I think this is just one of those heroes that feels so horrendous to play against if he gets elite. Like some heroes are more like for instance, if you play against a Mo who's 5k ahead, he's not going to destroy you, but you're not going to be able to kill him. But if you're against a Shiv or a Pocket that is 5k ahead, you're not going to have a good time. But there are also like, I think my biggest issue with Shiv is just that like, I'm not sure if damage deferring belongs in this game. Like, I'm not sure if I like.
Yeah, I mean, that was my biggest issue when he got added too. Like, in the sense that when he got added, I was like, yeah, bloodletting just seems a little silly.
Yeah.
I think it should probably get reworked into something else because it's very unclear when he's gonna die, when he's not gonna die, like all that stuff, right? Yeah. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that shit's gonna die for sure. Yeah. And then no.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Okay.
I'd be down for bloodletting to get reworked.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of bloodletting. I know they introduced it in Dota recently too, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be here. All right. Sinclair is a hero I despise personally. I think the laning stage of Sinclair is absolutely busted. The combination of like putting out your duplicate and sending down those freaking rocket launchers from above. I don't know. I think this hero will always have a low win rate because he's very clunky.
Yep.
And a lot of people are going to play him the wrong way, and a lot of people are just going to feed, or they're just going to play.
He's just hard to play too. Like he's clunky, and he's definitely is one of the harder heroes in the game to play. A lot of the heroes in this game are not very hard to play, like objectively, but Sinclair is definitely harder. I think this hero is S tier.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is.
I think this hero's above Mo and Krill, like below Paradox, below Holliday, but like right there.
No, I think
this hero is just like fundamentally broken.
Yeah, I think that like whenever I play against Sinclair, I just know that this lane is going to be a terrible time. There is no like, and you know what's also interesting about Sinclair is that he can teleport to his duplicate even if he's silenced.
And they've never specified whether that's intended or not. At this point, you just have to assume it's intended.
Yeah, because I've had several times where like I hook a Sinclair, I do the full combo, and he just goes out even with like. Yeah. Does it work with slowing Hex too? I'm not 100% sure, but definitely.
No. If he's slowing Hex, you can't TP.
Okay.
So you have to buy slowing Hex against Sinclair, essentially.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna put him between Mo and Paradox, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I mean, also, I think that this hero is like the potential of this hero has not even like been fully tapped yet.
Yeah.
Like this hero has a AoE Hex with damage amp.
Yeah.
And steals ultimates on a 50% cooldown.
Yeah, I know.
Like, if you sit down and really think about it, is there any MOBA ever that has anything even remotely close? I don't think so.
No, I mean you have Rubik, you have Rubik, and you have Lion. Lion has a single target Hex with damage amp.
Yeah. I mean, Lion can there's things that make AoE hexes, but like, Sinclair, obviously the hex makes you move faster and all that stuff, so you need like some form of lockdown. But like, there's combos that are just insane. Like for example, think about it: you get a big Vindicta tether, into like a Sinclair, and then like any damage that's dealt, they just melt.
Someone said you can 100% TP while slowing hexed. Interesting.
No, you can't.
You can't.
You literally can't.
Okay.
That person's lying.
Okay.
I promise you can.
Okay. I'm interesting. All right. Next up, we have Vindicta, which, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the most first picked and first banned heroes in Fight Night, isn't it?
So recently, not as much, but like there's definitely a long period of time. Yes. Nowadays, kind of Grey Talon overshadows her. Recently. Okay. So because of the proficiency of Grey Talon, I would put her at A tier, like top of A tier. But if Grey Talon was worse, she would probably be S tier.
Is that because Grey Talon is a good counter to her because of how easy she is to damage with
the
arrows?
So in the air battle, like Grey Talon usually shits on Vindicta. If they're both in the air, like he'll just kill her. So which makes team fights a little bit awkward to play as Vindicta if you're playing against Grey Talon. It's not unplayable by any means, but it just makes it a little bit harder.
But Grey Talon recently got nerfed, right?
I mean, like they nerfed him on he's still the server admin.
Okay, I see. All right, I am putting Vindicta at the top of A then.
Yeah, I think she's top of A.
Okay. All right, next up we have Vyper. Personally, I don't think Vyper is that strong. I've seen first of all, like she's almost never picked in tournaments. So that's one thing. You can always argue that she's also just very susceptible to people targeting her with specific counter items because she has to do slides. So she's definitely a pub stomper more than a pro tournament hero, but I never feel like she's a huge problem in pubs either, unless she gets far ahead.
I think she's like bottom of B tier.
Yeah.
In the sense, I don't think she's bad enough to be C tier.
Mm-hmm.
I think McGinnis needs to be very clearly below a lot of other heroes.
Yeah.
And I already envisioned who I'm gonna put in C tier.
Is she orange?
I'm not gonna spoil, but it might be. So anyhow, like I do think Vyper is like just better than Haze in like almost every aspect.
Yeah.
And Vyper and Haze have exactly almost the same issues, meaning they get bursted down, they get fucked by TC, etc.
Yeah.
But Vyper just has much better mobility than Haze does with her slide, like in fight mobility. Haze has better map mobility, but Vyper has better mobility in fights.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
And also Vyper's damage output is higher. She does need to get closer. And Vyper's ultimate is just way better than Haze's ultimate.
Yeah.
Vyper has built-in anti-heal. She has a lot of things that are actually pretty good about her.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of counters too. So I think Vyper is honestly just a balanced hero.
I think
just like slightly worse than average.
Do you remember when they first launched Vyper and her base gun damage was too high? She was shredding. But then they reduced they reduced it by shit tons. But I do think I agree that putting her like below Lash is probably the play here. I think she definitely gets countered really easily, and I think in a lot of games the same thing happens to Viper's Haze. You don't get that early lead, and then you just like keep getting shit on by like a Yamato or something.
Yeah, I agree.
B for balanced. Yeah. This tier list is weird as fuck. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
I think tier lists are always weird from someone's perspective, and
of course,
there's no such thing as a correct tier list, so it's all just opinions at the end of the day.
Of course, and if you're like Oracle or Archon, you probably have a very different experience from either of us.
Yeah, of course.
That's just how it's gonna be.
It's time to change the world now.
Oh, dude, I just like not related to which tier to put him in. I always found Warden to be pretty cool. You know, like he's got this.
Really, because I feel like a lot of people think Warden's lame as hell.
I'm not like his toolkit, but his like aura. You know, he's got this like really deep voice, and he's like a police officer. I think he has a lot of aura.
All right, sounds good.
But I do agree that he's kind of like straightforward, I guess.
I think this character is like high B.
Yeah, I think
probably equal to Shiv, or maybe better than Shiv sometimes, worse than Shiv sometimes. I'd put him either above Shiv or below Shiv. I think he's better. He's more consistent than Pocket, Lash, or Viper for sure. Like he's definitely better than those heroes.
I agree. I think that the Warden is pretty good in the laning stage. Like if you get caught by a cage, you're
his laning stage is both good and like not that good at the same time.
Because of the bullet velocity, you mean?
Well, the bullet velocity is like, okay, it's not that big a deal. You buy a high velocity mag and then you're okay for the most part. It's just that compared to a lot of other heroes, like look at every other hero in this list and ask yourself, does Warden have a stronger laning stage than them? And for the most part, the answer is not really. I think.
Yeah, probably. I think that Warden got a small buff in the last patch, which is like some base health and some stuff. I'm trying to think. I would definitely put him in like top of B or lower A, but I'm not sure. I think it could be either. I mean, there's a lot more heroes here that are gonna probably be A tiers. I think you're probably right in that sense. I think he's like fairly consistent value. I don't think it gets as easily countered by like single, like for instance, Lash just gets like hard countered by a few heroes, and that's just always gonna suck. I don't think that it's the same with Warden. He's kind of just like a standard shooter hero, and I don't think many people play Spirit Warden these days, do they?
Spirit Warden definitely has gone down in popularity, just purely due to the fact that people have learned how to play against it better. Yeah. Essentially, if you're playing Spirit Warden and you get, decayed toxic bullets on you, you just kind of melt through your ult. So Gun Warden is definitely much more popular. Yeah. Especially in Europe. Some people in NA still play Spirit Warden, though. It's not completely dead. It's still fine.
Yeah. I'm putting him here at the top of B.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think he's probably, realistically, in a lot of situations, he's probably worse than Shiv, but in some situations, also better. I think he's also just easier to get value, and like when you're playing against worse players, I think Warden like can get a ton of value from Cage too.
All right. Next up, we have Wraith, and one thing I would like to say about Wraith is back in the day when Shadow Weave just became a gun item, that's when everybody realized how broken this hero was. Because before that, people didn't play those kind of builds, and then when Shadow Weave became a weapon item, everybody just started playing Shadow Weave Wraith, and then they started nerfing Shadow Weave, and then they started nerfing the cards, and then they nerfed the ult, and she just kept getting nerfed, but she kept getting like high picked and high early picks and bans in tournaments. What are your thoughts?
I think Wraith is fairly balanced right now. I think honestly in the average pub, like she's actually very strong. Because her biggest weakness is like her early game is like meh, like it's all right. Once she gets scaling, she does do an absurd amount of damage. Like she has that capacity, and her kit is inherently very, very good. Like she has point and click CC. She has fire rate for her and nearby teammates. She has a TP to escape. So cards are not that good, but like everything else about her kit is just like kind of very good. So I think she's definitely just B tier, and like one change and she could become S tier.
Yeah, I think also like she's really good at split pushing, but I think that's harder now than it was with the 4-lane. I think Wraith was better in the 4-lane patch because she would love to like chill in the side lane and just burst down walkers and then TP out. I think that's a little bit harder to do now because she would rather 1v1 than 2v2. I feel like I think I agree with you. I think I do think that, like, especially seeing that she's pretty popular in pro play also, I think I would put her at bottom of A tier. I don't know if you think.
She's really not picked much in pro play at the moment, like,
Okay,
at
so
all.
they
She's
stopped
very,
it.
very
Okay,
unpopular.
maybe that was like a month
Yeah, she
ago.
hasn't been. That was probably like 3 months ago. She
Okay.
hasn't been popular in pretty much ever since 3 lanes. She hasn't been popular in pro play for the most part.
Okay.
Maybe at the beginning of the 3 lane meta she was popular, but in a while it's been a while. So
Okay.
in my opinion, she's like below Pocket is where I would put her. I would put her
damn,
above
okay.
Lash and Vyper, below Pocket. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I trust you. I trust you. I think Wraith is one of those where I just find it hard to like know exactly where to put her. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, one change in the meta, all of a sudden this character is like high A tier or S tier or whatever. It's very volatile.
all right, next up is Abrams. I think I've always put Abrams in S or A from the very get go. I think he got pretty nerfed from heavy melee canceling. I think the fact that they removed heavy melee canceling was a pretty big hit to Abrams. But I also do think that a lot of bad players used HMC as like a crutch.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I don't
definitely.
I don't think Abrams actually needed it, but it definitely made it easier to play him, right? So I think I personally think Abrams is pretty strong. He also still has one of the best mid boss steals, and he's a good frontliner. So personally, I think he's like high A, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think high A is fair. I personally think that he's more like bottom of A, but I think that when you take into account the average player, he definitely rises in the ranks because once again, you need to buy a lot of anti-heal against this hero to counter him. If you don't buy if, for example, you're playing in lane against him, he's going the Spirit Abrams build. If you don't buy a decay early, like he's just gonna like insta kill you, like you can't kill him essentially.
Yeah.
So it requires very specific counterplay. So if you put him like high A, I'd be fine with it.
I'm gonna make a what's it called? Decision. What is that word? When you overwrite everyone else's opinion. Executive decision? I'm gonna make an executive decision to put the two blue people next to each other. So I'm putting him here. I'm putting him next to Vindicta. Maybe I have a slightly different opinion there because I'm lower ranked than you. Maybe Abrams is a slightly smaller problem in your rank because people are better at buying counter items. But But
I mean, I think he's good. You can make the executive decision to put him there. I don't think it's like crazy.
All right.
Yep.
Calico, in my opinion, I mean, obviously this is another hero that on launch was just omega broken, and then she got nerfed quite a few times. I think she has some really interesting things in her kit that makes her unique. I think she took a big hit with the E-shift nerf because I think she really benefited from the, like, you E-shift first, you get increased movement speed, and then when you ult, because the ult is based on your current movement speed, you could just like fly out of there with your ult, and she was almost unkillable. That combined with the fact that they gave her cat form the ability to break boxes and not show up on the minimap, I think she has a very, very diverse toolkit. I do think that she's much worse than she was before, but I also think people are getting better at like countering her because slowing Hex just like breaks her toolkit really hard.
I think this hero was like top of S tier. Like just if you go like 2 months ago, like this hero was like just insane. This hero has gotten a decent amount of nerfs and nerf after nerf. Now she has like, her gun got nerfed a lot. In the laning stage, she has 9 bullets now, which is the same as Abrams, except her gun does like not a lot of damage and stuff. But then again, she's still very strong. In my opinion, her best ability, at least in like competitive, is the cat form. Like her mobility around the map is very very valuable. She's still A tier. As far as where you want to put her in A tier, I'll let you decide on that. I'll just say she's A tier and I'll see where you put her.
I personally think that this damn cat lady is still right up here. I think that she's still, even after all the nerfs, she's really strong. She's really annoying to deal with. Like, I think in a lot of team fights, you rely on nuking down a target very quickly, and she feels similar to Yamato in that regards, that like unless you get like the jump on her and you get like a curse or a silence or a slowing hex on them before they can use her abilities, I think she's really hard to like just deal with, especially when she is ahead. So in my opinion, she's very similar to Yamato in that regards.
I think that's fair. If I made an executive decision, I would have put her like below Geist, right above 7.
Okay.
But we all have, you You put her there. It's the executive decision. Now we must move on to Dynamo.
I just saw someone. This is just Deathy's tier list. I'm just making sure we get some controversial takes in here from low rank Jonas.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's not my tier list. It's, you know, we're contributing.
No, I think that's a very valid point. I also do think that, like, depending on what you play a lot, you're also gonna have, like, it's like I told you how, like,
you're gonna have biases for sure.
Yeah. All right, so Dynamo is, like, to me, that's like one of those heroes that is hard to. Well, I think Dynamo used to be like top S tier or very high S tier, like in the beginning. Very high pick rates, very high like value, and then people get, first of all, they nerfed the cooldown on the ult a lot. There's more counter items, and I think people are better at playing around it too. Like more pick comps, you know, like Dynamo doesn't really want to play into pick comps. He just want one massive team fight. I think that like hero has fallen down a lot to like maybe bottom of A tier in my opinion. Compared to what he was before. I also struggle with him a little bit in the laning stage because on one side he has like a stun and a heal and everything, but at the same time I do feel like a lot of the time Dynamo doesn't really win the laning stage.
I think this hero is C tier, to be honest.
Oh wow, okay.
I think my reasoning for that is the following. One, there's been only more counters that have been added to the game.
Okay.
Right? So now without Unstoppable, it's hard to get a good ult when you're against good players. Now, at the lower ranks, I could see him being A tier totally because one big black hole wins you the game.
Yeah.
At higher ranks, it's hard to get that big black hole. And there's a lot of heroes in the current meta that play in the air that Dynamo just like literally does nothing against. Like if you're playing against Vindicta, Grey Talon, Holliday, Lash, you know, any of these heroes, your game is very difficult.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a good point. Also,
his laning stage sucks. He's also really fat.
Yeah, that is true. He's a very big target. And like you said, because Holliday came into play and she can instantly counter him. I also like a lot of bad experiences with laning with Dynamos. Also, to be fair, someone in chat just said if you watch Crayon, it's C tier for sure. So I think that that's exactly what I needed to know. So I'm just gonna put him in C tier.
All right, so in C tier because of Crayon. What did Crayon say about Dynamo?
No, if you watch Crayon play, I think that's what.
Oh, okay, I see. Crayon makes it look C tier. I see. C for Crayon. Makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Makes sense.
Shout out Crayon. This one is for you.
The hero has potential for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And like there are parts of his kit that, in my opinion, people still suck at using. Like for example, the Quantum Entanglement's like a really good ability.
Yep.
A lot of his kit's actually really good on paper. It's just right now he falls short a little bit.
No, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. All right, next up we have
we have Grey Talon. Just like put that in S tier and move on. Just put it at the top of S tier. Just like put it like number 1 or something, and then we can all move on.
Is that how strong you? Because I struggle with Grey Talon because I played him out in the beginning, but I don't have like a really good opinion on him. I think just because of like, I don't know, like I know he's very much picked in pro play, and some teams like seem to really favor him. And I think it's hard for me to understand how good it is because like I don't think that many people in pubs are that good at taking.
I have an argument that I think will convince you to. Put him above everybody else.
This is where I'll let you kind of take the helm because I'm actually not sure on this one.
Think about it this way: generally, squishy sniper heroes that do a lot of damage are never played in pro play. Like for example, think about Sniper in Dota. Sniper in Dota at low ranks, super OP.
Yeah.
Pro play never picks because he just gets jumped and killed.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that a sniper hero that is supposed to be squishy and like a glass cannon that does a bunch of damage is consistently first pick, first banned in pro play for the past like 2 months, and nobody has found an answer, that to me just suggests that he's S+ tier. Like he's top S tier because, you know, in pro play, if he's OP in pro play, then he has to be OP everywhere else because you would figure pro play would be the best against him because it's like the biggest way to counter him is to go on him and kill him, which obviously pro players are going to try to do.
Interesting.
So if pro players can't kill him, then who can?
And then he also has 4 stamina and he's got movement speed scaling with Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being told by GT players that he needed 4 stamina, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, now it's pretty clear to me he doesn't need 4 stamina. I think he'll be fine with 3.
All right. I like just because he's like slightly weaker in pubs, I'm gonna put him below Holliday. I still feel like I would much rather play against a Grey Talon than a Holliday. But I do see what you mean. I think I'm putting him here. All right. Haze is
I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done, bro. Haze is actually a hero I've played quite a lot. I got interested in, well, I've always loved ult builds in general. I played a lot of ult builds at Paradox. I used to do it like Mo and Bebop and Seven as well and Lash. And when the ult did spirit damage, I started like practicing Haze because I generally enjoyed it. I love the press 4 builds because my IQ is room temperature and all that. So that was a lot of fun. But then the ult infinitely scaling with time with spirit and doing spirit damage was simply too much, so they made it back to gun damage. In my opinion, I think that they should have just chilled on the duration of the ult instead of making it gun again. But either way, I think this hero is pretty doo-doo right now.
Yeah, I think she's like C tier.
Yeah, I definitely think she's C tier. I think
she's like below Dynamo. I think Dynamo has like more potential generally.
Yeah.
I think Haze is also just like a meta change away, or like some change away from being very, very highly rated. She has like, she can have permanent invisibility that's extremely strong, but she has a lot of issues, unfortunately, with the rest of her kit that kind of suck. Fixation is bad at like multi-target fights. Her ult is horrible. Sleep Dagger is like pretty decent. She has 2 good abilities. Essentially, she has sleep and invisibility. The fixation and her ult kind of suck.
I think that a lot of people have had more success playing the Spirit Echo Shard Dagger build than especially now that the ult is gone. Because the weird thing is actually that the rest of the toolkit doesn't really match the ult. Because the rest of her toolkit is like this like assassin hero taking out single targets and stuff. But then the ult is all like weird. You're just like standing out in the open and spinning around and for like a sustained amount of time. So I would love to see Haze ult rework to something else.
Yeah.
But either way, I think in the current state of things, she belongs down there. She's still fun to play, I think, but I definitely feel like whenever I queue into a game and I look and there's a Haze in the lobby, my first thought is like, if I get the Haze, we lose. If they get the Haze, we win.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Haze is pretty shit.
Yeah.
Right now.
But I would love to see changes on the ult, I think. Next up, we have Infernus. I would like to preface by saying I think Infernus is one of the like coolest heroes in the game in terms of like his like design, his lore, like all his abilities are like, you know, flamey and stuff. Both him and Kelvin, like being flame and ice, I think they're like really, really cool heroes.
Yep.
But I think I struggle a little bit with how I think debuff remover is such a good item right now. I do feel like that kind of like makes Infernus harder to play, but I'm not quite sure where I would put him.
What are you feeling? I mean, I know where I'd put him, but I'm curious what you're feeling.
I think I would put him next to Shiv. Okay. What do you think?
I think I'd put him like probably top of B tier. Like my reasoning is that I'm pretty confident that he's worse than 7 in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
For the majority of players, obviously it depends on draft, depends on a lot of things. I think that he has a lot of potential, and I think also a lot of players don't play him the proper way. Like I do think maxing 1 right now is just extremely powerful.
Yeah.
A lot of players that I see in pubs still max 3 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you combine like everything and the average player, etc., the way that they play him, I'd put him just top of B tier. He's definitely better than every other hero in B tier in my opinion, and he is probably worse than most of the heroes in A tier. So I think it's like
okay.
That's where I put him.
I was gonna put him here, so I'll let you have the executive in this one and put him above Warden.
I think that he's better than Warden.
Yeah.
But I don't think Warden. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's fair.
Okay. I have seen that you've been playing a lot of Ivy recently, so I'm very curious to hear your opinions about this hero. This is actually my highest win rate hero back from when I was grinding gun Ivy. I think I still have like 65% or something. Just by like maxing 1, and then I made lineups for the enemy camps. So I would like, as soon as the medium camps would come up, as long as you had at least 20 spirit power, you could one-shot the enemy medium camps. And then I would like, every game I would steal between 3,000 to 5,000 souls, which is pretty sick. But I stopped playing her because I don't know. I don't know. I don't personally like Ivy that much, but I am very curious to hear what you have to say.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that this hero is like S tier or like top of A tier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This hero, okay, if this hero's lane wasn't like meh, this hero would actually be just like Thanos, I think.
Yeah.
Her ult is insane. Her tether is like super underestimated. Like once you get it, if you have any spirit, like towards the late game, it gives you like insane fire rate and lifesteal. Kutu is great for wave prio and like just pushing waves on the map and like map control. The fact that her ult has like a long silence and gives you like you can push a wave instantly ult to another fight. Like it's kind of like Mirage ult in that sense.
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of I don't know. I would probably put her in S tier in my opinion, but I know that's going to be pretty controversial most likely. So yeah.
I used to put Ivy in S tier on previous tier lists, but one of my big reasonings was how broken it was to fly the urn. But then after all this time, they finally fixed that and proved to us that that was not intentional. To me, that was like a pretty big hit for Ivy because you could literally like in a lot of situations, if people weren't like properly focusing, or even if they were just like slightly shifted off of the wrong side of the map, then she could just fly it across. But obviously now with the side teleporters gone, it's probably still pretty good to fly the urn in some scenarios because it's harder to get over there in time. But I do think that that was like a pretty big nerf to...
I think flying the urn is like generally just pretty like not optimal right now, just because the only advantage it gives you is like you can path over certain objects, but it doesn't give you any speed advantage. So you just have good movement. It's like not really necessary, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd like to put her here, there. Right above
I think
Calico.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I think Ivy just also has like a lot of builds that are strong. Like we've seen from the EU tournament, like Gun Ivy can pop off as well, even at the top level of competitive play, right? So you can play Gun Ivy, you can play Support Ivy, you can play like a mix of these things. You can play like there's just a lot of things you can do with Ivy. She's very flexible. She can be that hero that just buys kind of whatever your team needs.
Yeah.
Your team needs an All Fire, Ivy buys it. Heroic Aura, she can buy it. Knockdown, she can buy it. Rescue Beam, like depends what your team needs. And so I think that out of like a lot of heroes in the game, she's very strong.
Next up we have Kelvin. I personally think that Kelvin is a very strong support. I think that's by far his strongest build. I remember very early iterations of Deadlock, he had an extremely strong beam. The beam would actually disarm guys. Yep, you heard me. The beam just used to disarm. But I think his ult, even though like before his ult was like it didn't freeze objective, you could just ult and then you could just get the crystal for mid boss. I still think that even though it freezes the crystal, it doesn't change much. He still kind of has one of the best ults for winning mid boss because he can just time his punch exactly when the ult goes down. He's really good with rescue beam as well. I personally see him very high A tier, but I'm down to hear what you have to say.
I think Kelvin is like A tier probably. I think he's very strong. He's got like the dome. He's got like his beam in lane's very strong. His name's a strong ability. Arctic Path or whatever it's called. What is the second ability called? Is it called Arctic Path or I can't remember.
Freezing
But regardless,
Path?
the second ability,
I don't know,
Freezing Path, Arctic Path,
Ice Path,
whatever.
Ice Path.
Ice Path, yeah. I think it's good. I think I'd put him like somewhere in A tier.
Yeah, I think I definitely think like in early stages, like for instance, if you get the level 2 beam with Infuser in the laning stage, it's like incredibly
level 2 beam with Infusers, like, but he doesn't even have to do that, but that is very strong, very impressive, especially if you don't respect it. All of a sudden you're doing 300-400 damage.
But yeah, I agree. I will put him right above Abrams, I think, since they have a similar haircut. Next up we have another hero that I really hate, and you can probably kind of guess why, but not a huge fan of Viscous. I do think that I don't know. I fucking hate this hero. I'm sorry. I know that
Viscous is one of those weird heroes,
He's gonna have a low win rate, but he's gonna have like insanely high skill expression for some players. Like you can make this hero look like the most busted hero in the game in the right hands. But I understand that is situational and stuff. But there's so much stuff in his toolkit that just seems so strong to me. And there's also so many different builds. There's punch build, there's support build, there's ball build. But yeah, I don't know.
I think I'd put him, I don't know, I'd probably put him A tier. I think he's A tier. I think he's very strong. I think his kit is inherently always going to be useful. Cube's always going to be useful, all that stuff. Like, I put him A tier. Somewhere in A tier, wherever you feel is accurate.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways he's the same to me as Kelvin, where like he's a very strong support hero that can easily save his teammates. I'm gonna put him next between there. Yeah. Next up we have Yamato. Yamato is like a tough one for me because like she's one of the hardest heroes to deal with, even if she has just a slight lead, in my opinion. I feel like the ult obviously just like gives you shit tons of free stats, even though she doesn't like turn invulnerable anymore. She still just like, and then she also on top of that gets a heal when she does it, and she gets a bigger heal when she gets a kill. If she gets an early heal bane, she basically heals more or less to max with one kill in the ult. I don't know. I maybe I have like a biased opinion about this hero also because she's good against Bebop. But I always struggle to play against this hero and definitely see her like as like a high A, maybe even S tier hero. And I also think she's picked quite a lot in pro play, right?
Yeah, I think Yamato is like S tier.
Yeah.
I think the hero is like, I don't know. The hero has like unstoppable debuff remover, like all of these items that essentially are baked into one ability that make her very, very strong. You know, you can buy anti-heal against her, but the moment she presses ult, like she cleanses it essentially, so you need to reapply it. So a lot of the time, right after her ult, she gets like a big burst of healing. You know, whether she has in Locket meta, she'll have Locket. Whenever she has, you know, like she can use Crimson Slash right out of ult, she gets a ton of healing from that.
Yeah, good
I
mid
think
boss
she's
steal
really
too.
strong, really strong laning stage.
Yeah.
Good mid bot secure. I think she's like S tier for sure.
I think there's just very little weak sides to her. She's like strong throughout the entire game through. She doesn't really fall off either, right?
Yeah, I think she doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses, to be honest.
Yeah.
Her biggest weakness is Shred. But yeah, other than that, we're chill.
Yeah. Yep. And also like since we're also taking pub into consideration here, I think very few people specifically buy Shred just to deal with the Yamato unless it's like in a organized setting. I'm gonna put her right here. I still think that Mo has more consistent value overall just because it's a easy hero. Like always
One
has.
sec, my cat is distracting me.
Okay.
Just climbed.
Yeah, but I'm gonna put Yamato there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And then we have Mirage.
Yeah. Mirage, the only person with the global ult. We have seen how strong that is in other MOBAs like Dota. One of the few heroes that can completely change the macro of a game alone, because you can completely push in the side lanes and then just force someone to rotate over to defend a walker, and then you TP into the team fight, and suddenly you have an advantage. I also think that was obviously stronger when there was 4 lanes, but at the same time, now that you can funnel solo lane farm and other people can jungle, I guess that benefits Mirage a little bit because you don't really want him to be in the jungle because he jungles very slowly. I personally think he's like high A or low S, but I'm curious to hear what you think because I think you've played him quite a lot, right?
Yeah, I think I think he used to be S tier, but now he's gotten enough nerfs to put him in A tier for me.
Yeah.
I think he's like top of A tier. At the same time, like looking at this tier list, I'm like, okay, you know, is he really worse than some of these heroes in S? Like, I guess, is he really worse than Mo? Like, you know, but like he's probably not worse than Mo. So I guess maybe I would disagree with that placement. So there's a little bit of like, you know, I'm not really sure about that. So I would be fine with putting him in an S there because I think he's better than a lot of the heroes that we put in A tier. Or if he's not S tier, he's a high A tier. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that I think this is another hero that has some skill expression to him, just because like the things like, for instance, he's a really bad jungler. How do you get a soul lead on Mirage, right? How do you like, it requires more like knowledge of macro, like when can I push the lane a little bit further. He also has like, obviously he has a lot of shred with his scarabs, and he also has the tornado. I think is one of the strongest base abilities in the game. I think I'm putting him next to Yamato. I think I'm putting him here.
That seems fair. I can agree with that for the most part, yeah.
Okay, so without further ado, this is the updated tier list for this current meta. Don't forget to also check out Deathy's meta report on his YouTube channel, and we'll be back for more updates as soon as we get a fucking patch. Thank you for watching.
True. Thank you guys. Much love.